Good afternoon and welcome to the Sport Rep Show. My name is Jesse Jackson Kauraitha and I will be your host for today, bringing you some of the weekend events and what transpired, of course, during last week and the latest sports news. That's the Sports Rep. Well, of course, first before we go into details, let's look at the back page. That's what you can see, the football enemy in COVID. Well, COVID-19 has brought football once again to a standstill. We'll go to that story in detail. And now for that story in detail, well, my boss Freeze, that's the Namibia Premier Football League director, says that they are not sure what will happen, of course, with the Namibia Premier Football League Transitional League until the president pronounced himself on the new regulations. Of course, many believe that the league will not be concluded by July as earlier scheduled, and of course that the normal league will not start with the rest of the leagues in Europe because of the cases that are rising in Namibia, currently reporting over 2,000 cases daily and over 40 deaths. Well, that's the enemy that has COVID-19 brought to the football, of course, bringing the game to a standstill here in Namibia. Remember that the transitional league only began, that was in April, and of course it has now been stopped due to what transpired and due to the coronavirus pandemic. The NPFL officials had hoped that, of course, that the league will be able to conclude with the NFA MTC Cup in order to allow for a smooth transition for the new season to start. That would have been the actual season, knowing that football has been on a halt due to infighting for the past 2 years. Well, Congo Hinjo, of course, a football owner, said or believes that the football league might only commence that in September due to the rise in the numbers of the coronavirus cases. Well, it will be now up to the Namibia Premier Football League directors and the NFA to decide on the way forward on how they are going to maneuver around the new situation. Of course, let's not forget that the head of state will be speaking. That's on the 30th of June to pronounce himself on new regulations. Well, that was it from the COVID-19 enemy story. And now, of course, we have one from the referees. Absalom Kozub, that's the veteran referee administrator, is calling on young aspirant referees to join, of course, football and take referee as a passion. He hopes that if more referees come on board, the country will be able to export more countries to top tournaments, that's like the Africa Cup of Nations. He indeed also calls on women referees to come in as the game has transformed and it's no longer just played by males. Of course, now we'll go to the rugby story as well, where the Namibia rugby team jetted off to, that's the Ivory Coast, where they will be competing in the Gold Cup. That's the Africa Gold Cup. The national rugby team escaped the COVID bullet. Of course, all the players in the team tested negative and they are on their way to play. That's in the Africa Cup. That will be the tournament preparing them for the big Africa Gold Cup, where they will be playing to qualify for the World Cup. Of course, they will be now playing under a new coach, that's Alistair Coetzee of South Africa, who is a former South African assistant coach and a head coach. Coetzee won the World Cup with South Africa. That was in 2007 as an assistant coach, and of course has also been at the helm of the team that was between 2016 to 2017. We will now go for a short break, and after the short break we will be speaking to Ricardo Mannetti, former Brave Warriors coach and of course a former Brave Warriors player who recently penned a book, and that's called A Decade of Football. We will hear from the man himself on what the book entails and of course how it has been doing on the shelves at the moment. And now on the line we are joined by coach, former Brave Warriors coach, and of course player Ricardo Mannetti, who penned A Decade of Football. That's the magazine that's currently on the shelves. Ricardo, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, and thanks to the listeners.
Of course, during this difficult time, I hope you're keeping safe, Ricardo.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I think we all keeping safe. We still doing the things that needs to be done, like going to the shop and stuff to buy food. Other than that, we all keeping safe, I assume.
Okay. In terms of you mentioned going to the shop, and I'm sure that book is on the shelves. That's A Decade of Football. Mannetti, can you just quickly tell us what prompted the idea of this magazine, of course, which is A Decade of Football? What encouraged or what motivated the idea?
The problems in football motivated me.
The problems.
And this is how it came about, or how the idea was planted in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And every day when you open up or buy the paper, you go to the back page.
Mm-hmm.
There's the dark side of football, everything that's not right
Mm-hmm.
in football. The specific political fights in football, etc., etc. We all know court cases here and there. And I was like thinking,
Mm-hmm.
look, I'm always a type of person that wants to see the bright side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and I looked at them and said, but if I'm a neutral person and I'm not a football person, I'm not a coach, I'm not a player, I'm not an administrator,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting outside.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's painted and given to me. The narrative is very negative.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, no ways. I can remember we've done so many awesome things. We made history. Under 17 teams qualified and win the COSAFA Cup, and the senior team qualified for CHAN twice, just to name a few things.
Yes.
And there were so many outstanding points, and that encouraged me to say that, wait a minute, let me give something to the people so that this decade cannot be overshadowed by court cases and politics and smear campaigns and all these type of things.
Okay.
That's not what the game is about. The game is about, it's a beautiful game, and all I wanted to do is to bring the beautiful side of it and to show the beautiful side of the game to each and everyone out there.
Okay, Coach, of course the book, as we currently speak, it is on the shelf. Who were the authors, of course, who contributed to this book? I know you to mention a few, there will be quite a number of people, but just to highlight some of the important people that helped you with this book.
Yeah, we to start off with, we were about 9 people that worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the contributors we had, from the referee side, we had Absalom from the NFA, is the head of referees in the country, to get some statistics and all that, because we covered of the referees that were representing us at CAF, COSAFA, and whatever level, as well as the competition side. Titus Yaltas from the NFA side, in terms of he's using the system to register players, and there's a segment in the magazine where we have a list of all the players that left Namibia and went and played outside the borders of Namibia. So he's also a contributor. We had the women's desk that Yaltas with their information, and then we had Hector, is well known. I think he also worked at the Summit sometime previously. We had Marco, we had Isaka Mata, that's the editor that went through all of it and confirmed that the stats are perfect, maybe not 100%. But myself as well, because I also played a big role in the 10 years. So when we speak about a player or an event, I would contribute of that.
Of course.
So
Ricky, I'm sure so many people would be eager to know, is this the last of it that we see, or do we expect Mannetti to pen more books and bring up more ideas?
Yeah, basically the main idea was to capture everything from independence from 1990 to 2020 for the 30 years. But then I was pressed for time, to get the information, it was going to take me another 6-8 months. So people should not think that this is the end. We want to do it annually now. So the cut-off year was 2020. So it's from 2010 to 2020. So now 2021, we will release a magazine that will capture 2021, everything that happened in this year, so that we as Namibians, start looking inside ourselves and say, wait a minute, we have good statistics, we have good achievements, etc., etc. And a magazine like this will really help everyone with information, with statistics, etc.
Okay, Coach, of course, I know many of people might not be aware where they can find this magazine and how much it costs at the moment. Can you give us that information?
Yeah, because since I have to make this, thanks for the opportunity, Jesse. I have to make this clear that it's a collector's item. So a lot of people ask me but it was 2020 last year, you talk about 2011. The aim is, it's a coffee table magazine. That's a collector's item. So if you know that you're a football fan and an administrator, you want to get your hands on the specific magazine. The magazine is $100 Namibian. The reason for it is it's about 104 pages, I think, 104 pages of content in there from 2010, and it's not just monthly or weekly magazine, so this is something special. We currently have it in Rundu, Spa, Chumep, Spa Ochivavongo, Super Spa, Spa Okaanja, and in Windhoek we have it at OK Baines, Spa, Commersdal, Westland Spa. By next week we will roll it out countrywide through Pick and Pay and companies like Checker. So then you will be able to find it all over Namibia. Currently, those are the different outlets where it's available.
Okay, it was quite, I remember when we were at the magazine at the launch, quite an emotional man you were on that day. Of course, I remember that it was in the week that your late mother passed away. May her soul rest in peace. It was quite courageous enough to launch it during that day. Mannetti, could you tell us what made you launch it specifically during this time? What made it special for her? Because I remember you said you told her about it.
Yeah, I had the choice to postpone it, and before she passed, obviously, we had our talks, our personal talks, and one of the things that she asked me, what's your project that you are working on? And she was very much aware that I'm working on this magazine, and she was over the moon. So I showed her a copy of it. It was not the final copy, and she was like, oh no, I can't wait for me to be there, so when you launch it, I'll be able to see it. And unfortunately, that week of the launch, she passed away, but gave me the blessings and say, no, my child, you can go ahead, and because we had some time before she passed, thank God for that opportunity. And I dedicated the specific magazine to her, because she was the one that prayed for me all these years. She was the one that advised me, and that has been my backbone all these years of playing and coaching.
Okay, Coach, before we conclude, was this the last 2019? Was it the last we saw you on any specific touch line? Of course, this is apart from a book you have written. I'm sure it's a question that many would like to ask you, because was this the last we saw you, or
do we expect a return of Mannetti at any touchline? I mean, not to be specific of any club, any nation in the future, or have you really called it quits at that?
I can't 100% say that I called it quits, but my journey has always been, I try to go full circle, and what I mean by that is, I played local football, then I became a professional, went to South Africa, I coached locally, then I coached the national team internationally. So I'm always of the opinion that I want to go to the next level, or the next
chapter.
And that's my passion at the moment. And so for me to coach, I'll be very honest with you, it will have to be outside Namibia. In Namibia, not possible. I can safely say that I might be working, if the club bosses listening, I might be working as a technical advisor or head of coaching or something like that, but not on the touchline physically. I think I have...
You have come full circle here in Namibia.
Come again?
You say you have come full circle here in Namibia.
I have come full circle in Namibia, that's right, yeah. So for me, it's on to the next one.
Okay. Thank you so much, Coach Mannetti. It has been a privilege having you on the line. And please take care and stay safe.
And the same to the listeners out there as well. Thanks for having me, Jesse. Take care.
All right, goodbye.
Ciao, ciao, bye.
That was Coach Ricardo Mannetti, of course, former Brave Warriors and player and former coach. Of course, he won the 2015 Kosava Cup, the first Namibian local coach to win, and of course helped the team qualify to the Africa Cup of Nations and as well as the CHAN competitions. Mannetti, you heard it from the man himself, stating that he has come full circle and could probably not coach locally again, but could be available for jobs outside Namibia. Of course, Ricardo Mannetti launched his book, That's a Decade of Football. Interesting news. I've read the book myself, and it is quite an interesting book with a lot of events in it, covered of course by the past 10 years, and quite exposing the players and of course the moments that took place in the past 10 years. It is a historic book, and one would not fail to recommend you to get it. Of course, the coach himself has recommended that people should get it and read it. Well, that is it from me, Jesse Jackson Kauraitha. Please don't forget to catch us again. That is on Thursday for another Sport Rep show. Have a good day.